Right, what's happening, people? Today I'm doing a different type of podcast. So this is actually my first solo podcast. So if I end up stuttering or there's gaps in between, I'm also reading off my computer at the same time. So this episode, right, I get a million questions about fat loss, like all the fucking time. So I'm literally trying to cover everything about fat loss that you need to know. So literally just not all the science behind it, just everything that you need to know and how you can apply it to your own like fat loss phase. So everybody overthinks everything, so I'm going to simplify it to fuck. I've also caffeinated myself when I shouldn't be caffeinated. 4 o'clock and I'm having coffee, but I was saying to Paul, do you want to hear what happened yesterday? So I can't really construct sentences when I've not really slept, right? Like, I really can't construct sentences. And I had a client in for the first time. Bear in mind, I've met her for like 10 seconds. And I was trying to say to her that, see, when I do an intro session for someone, I'm not like trying to go through like a really hard session or anything. I'm trying to like teach them a bit so they can take something away from it. So that like if they go to the gym themselves, they can do what I taught them. And what I said to her was, I went to her, so in my first session, I'm not trying to fuck you really hard. Mate, I'm about 11 seconds into meeting this girl. And it's that way. See, if she knew me for a week, I could have made a joke about it or something, but I just looked at her and went, I'm so sorry about that. And that was me for the rest of the fucking session. I couldn't, you know, that way you can't stop thinking about something as well. So I'm sitting teaching her how to do a Romanian deadlift, and I'm like, did I just say I'm going to fuck her really hard? Fucking, and she kind of just played it off as well. You could tell she was like, I just don't want to bring this up ever again. Fucking horrendous. Just try to delete it from my brain. That's me getting it off my chest now. Right. So when like going through a little bit of background around myself so you can understand why I'm so passionate about this and why like that's what I spend most of my life doing, teaching people how to lose fat and get into the gym. So I was fat like all my childhood, and I tried everything. Whoever's watching this, my audience that's watching this, I know what you're like I know what you've tried, and I've been in the exact same position. So I tried absolutely everything from running to every single diet to basically fucking starving myself. The worst one was when I was younger, my dad used to force me to run round, it's a lock called Drumpelia Lock. He used to literally force me to run round it. And it was fucking torture. No shock to you, I didn't lose any weight whatsoever. So this intro is just about how to simplify everything and then how you can do it yourself. So we'll probably spend 5 to 10 minutes on each topic. Everything's pretty important. The main thing that you're going to want to listen to is probably the mindset sort of stuff. So I'm going to go through everything you need to do and then also go through mindset as well, because people don't actually struggle with the concept of losing weight. They struggle with actually sticking to something and knowing what to do and not overthinking everything. So that's the aim of this. So that's us went through the intro. Now we're on to how does fat loss actually work, right? In order for you to lose fat, you have to consume less calories than you burn. You've probably fucking seen it. It's everywhere. Everyone's hammered at home, especially on TikTok and stuff. You need to be in a calorie deficit. I'm not going to spend loads of time going through what a calorie deficit is. The thing you need to know is how to actually be in one and how to actually make that as easy as possible to stick to. Because the concept of it is really easy. What people struggle with is actually being in one and sticking to it and not overthinking things. So any diet you've done in the past where you've lost weight, you've only done that because you've been in a calorie deficit. So every single sort of way to lose weight, so like whether it's like all the stupid diets like Cambridge or whatever, or Slimming World, if Slimming World worked for you, say for 2 months, it's because you were in a deficit for those 2 months. If it didn't work after the 2 months, it's because you now weren't in a deficit. They do stupid things like unlimited pasta and stuff, so you probably started eating the unlimited pasta, or you started having an unlimited amount, that sort of thing. So what you have to realize is you've got a total daily energy expenditure, so the amount of calories you burn in a day. So you can figure this out on calorie calculators and stuff, but they're just estimations as well. anyone that sort of says to you that calories aren't all equal and stuff like that, calories is literally just a unit of measurement. The same way, so it's a unit of energy. So the same way that like a liter of water or a liter of liquid is always a liter of liquid, no matter if it's water or if it's like Diet Coke or whatever. Same way a calorie is always a calorie. So there is nuances to it, but it's not so much that it disproves calories in, calories out. So you do have different things. Like if you look at 200 calories of a banana, this is so interesting, isn't it? 200 calories of a banana and 200 calories of chicken. One has a shit ton of protein, one has a load of carbs. So we do break these down differently, but not so much that it doesn't mean they're both 200 calories. They're still both 200 calories. So yeah, everything we're going through is about how to make being on this lesser calories, this calorie deficit, easier to stick to. Right, so the main fucking question that you're probably thinking, the main question I get asked every single day, so in my direct messages, it'll be, Gavin, how many calories should I be on? Gavin, I'm on 1600 calories. Is that the right amount? And then they'll be literally like giving me their height, their weight, their age, and they'll be like, I'm a nurse, so am I slightly active, lightly active, or not active? So what you want to do with the amount of calories you're on is stop overthinking it, right? So you can go on these calorie counting website, calorie TDEE.net, I think is one. And once you do that never do it again. You actually want to become the calculator. So you want to figure out how many calories you should be on by yourself. So the way you can do that is picking an amount, and I'm going to give you like examples soon. Picking an amount, weighing yourself over the space. Don't do it for just a week. Do it for like 2 to 3 weeks. Weigh yourself way more than once a week, and then see how your weight reacts from there. Because if you just go off calorie calculators, you'll end up going on to like 5 different ones, overthinking it when they're all just estimations anyway. So no calorie calculator can give you like this perfect amount. You'll see the theme. A lot of people are looking for perfect answers or the best way to do something or the fastest way to do something, when that's not really the way you want to come at it, because there isn't going to be like a perfect amount. Right, so if I was to give 2 general amounts for males, you want to start calories as high as you can, and if you have to adjust from there. So you want to eat as much calories as you can while still being in a deficit. So for males, anywhere between 2,000 to 2,400, just try it. The like more weight you have to lose, the higher on the end I would go. For females, anywhere between like 1,700 to 2,100. Try the higher end. The more weight you have to lose, the higher I would go again. And bear in mind that they are just like general sort of ranges, and you might have to go lower. Some people might have to go lower if you're really small, not active at all. But if you're not active at all, I would get more active basically as well. And you can do that by steps and stuff. But don't worry, we're going to cover absolutely fucking everything, mate. Because that's the whole point. I literally want to do this podcast so any question that ever gets asked, I can just link this on my Instagram stories or on TikTok or something, so that you can come and watch this, so you stop overthinking everything. Obviously, I'm still going to get the same questions every day. But in a dream world, everyone would just come and listen to this podcast and it'd be sorted. Right, so the second thing you watch, and this is like it's the calorie part of the podcast, but also nutrition. So people overcomplicate nutrition so fucking much. If you sit and watch nutrition videos, your head will be like fucking mincemeat. So we want to keep this as simple as possible. So the second thing, and people will avoid doing this, and the ones that avoid doing this won't get the same results as people who do it. You want to track your protein intake. So with your calories, we're tracking this on like MyFitnessPal, NutriTrack, anything that tracks food. We want to track our protein intake as well. So people who don't track protein will struggle a lot more than people who do. So protein is going to fill you up way more than any other macronutrient. That's why we want to track it. So you've got carbs, fats, and protein. That's what calories are made up of. And then you've got micronutrients as well, but I won't bore you to fucking tears with that. So we'll go into protein, right? So the ranges I would go for. So people say there's all sorts of different like ways of putting it, or all sorts of different guidance on this. So the most popular thing people say is 1 times your body weight in pounds. So for me right now, that's like 185. And then the other one they can do is 1 times your height in centimeters. There you go. Fucking hell, my metrics is off. 1 times your height in centimeters, for me that would be 180. But I would just go for this, right? If you're a woman, anywhere between 100 and 150 will be pretty good. If you're a guy, anywhere between 150 and 200 will be good. Again, I'm trying to keep this as simple as fucking possible. If you're in those two ranges, I can guarantee you'll be eating more than you're currently eating. Most people get fuck all protein. That's why they're not full at all. So those two ranges, you'll be absolutely fine, and you'll be doing way better than you're currently doing. From there, right, as well, the reason why I give the ranges is because, see, if you're on lesser calories, especially as a woman, right? Say you're a woman and you maybe are over 200 pounds and you have to lose weight on like 1700 calories. If you're to get over 200 grams of protein, you'll be doing fucking lines of chicken breast. Nobody wants that, right? So just those two ranges, 100 to 150 for women, 150 to 200 for men. This isn't a scientific guideline. It's just what I've found works best with clients that I've trained in the past and currently. Also with your food, right? Most people will tell me that they're on 1200 calories and they're not losing weight. Bollocks. They're never on 1200 calories. They're literally never. So a lot of people will miss track, stuff like that. So there's way more calories than you think in like peanut butter. Like you need to weigh these sort of things. Like I wouldn't be like adamant that you weigh everything, but things like peanut butter, cereal, butter in general, oil, you really need to weigh these sort of things. Otherwise you'll have no idea what you're actually consuming. A lot of people also underestimate their weekend, and they'll honestly consume 3 times more calories than they think they are. It's actually really easy to do a 6,000 calorie Saturday, and that'll like if you've been in a deficit all week and you're on like 1700 calories, you can easily undo that on the Saturday. If you're one of these people that have a cheat day and you don't make any progress, that's probably why. So I always think about food as, don't look at it as cheat days or cheat meals. You can include food you like in your everyday diet. You can also have a takeaway at the weekend. I just think it usually fucks people's mindset if they look at food as like good or bad, or they look at it as like cheat days instead of just being like, right, I'm having a takeaway this weekend. I can fit it in, or I'm a wee bit over. Who gives a fuck? I want a takeaway, that sort of thing. Again, I don't think about doing meal plans. I don't do meal plans. I think they're mostly restrictive. They can work in the odd scenario, but for most people, you just want to adapt the way you currently eat. So say you're eating like, you're a woman, you're currently eating like 2,600 calories. We can get that down to 1,800 with a few different swaps. Instead of like, say you have like spaghetti bolognese, put the mince to extra lean mince, take down the amount of pasta a little bit and use like a different kind of sauce. You could probably chop 300 calories off your dinner, and then just look at it that sort of way. You want to adapt the way you currently eat, because if you make too many changes to your current lifestyle, it'll be too hard to keep up, or it'll be too much at one time. Again, we want to keep everything simple. With nutrition, honestly, a few changes is enough to get you on the right track. I wouldn't ban yourself from any food that you really like. So the typical thing, and I used to do this as well, is like I would ban myself from chocolate, and then as soon as I had a fucking Kit Kat, I would lose my actual mind and I would inhale my cupboards. So that's not what you want to do. You want to just look at food. Don't look at food as good or bad. And then another rule you can have is like the 80-20 rule. So 80% on good food. Don't look in it, is this a good food or a bad food? We all kind of know what is unprocessed, good for us, fruit and veg, rice, pasta. We all know these aren't bad for us. Carbs aren't bad for us. So you don't want to try restrict yourself from these foods. So if you look at that as like 80%, then 20% on whatever the fuck you want, honestly. So like if you're on 1,800 calories, if you want to have 200 to 300 on ice cream every night, I'll honestly have like a low calorie ice cream tub, the full thing. It's maybe like 300 calories. I'll have one every single night because it keeps me on track. I like eating it. I don't have it every single night. That's a lie. 3 or 4 times a week. Right. Moving on to the next. So that's nutrition. Actually, I'll cover one more thing in nutrition. See if you have a calorie goal, a protein goal, and a fruit and veg goal of like 5 to 10. This is what I do with voice is going. This is what I do with clients, right? And they send me every night. Calorie goal, protein goal, fruit and veg goal of 5 to 10. If you hit those goals 90% of the time, Your diet is better than 99% of the country. Honestly, it really is. Right. So, Jesus fucking Christ, this solo podcasting. Right. Measuring progress and the scale. So the biggest thing people struggle with is not understanding that scale is not going to go down every fucking time you stand on it. People near have a cardiac arrest if they stand on that scale and it's up a quarter of a pound. Even if they've lost 10 pounds already, if that scale goes up a quarter of a pound, they're chucking that in the bin. They're losing the fucking plot. They're getting a bottle of Buckfast and they're going out in the town. So what what you want to do is actually understand the scale and also have other measurements. So I would, and I get clients to do this, I would always take pictures and I would always take measurements. Again, you don't need to be too pedantic about how you do this. If you want to do measurements, you want to do them once every 2 weeks, once every month. If you want to do pictures, do it once every month. That's absolutely fine. But you need to have more measures of your progress other than the scale as well, because if you just focus on the scale and if you just weigh yourself once a week, you're going to set yourself up to lose the fucking plot, right? So, as well as that, seeing if you do see progress in pictures and measurements, what you'll find is a lot of people expect progress to happen way quicker than it actually does. So that's when people like self-sabotage themselves, because they'll be like, a lot of people like, oh, I only lost a pound this week, or there's only a tiny difference in my progress pictures. You just need to keep going. This is like a lifestyle change as well. So fat loss is a phase, but you want to look at this as a complete lifestyle change. So even though you've got things that are going to help you lose fat, the only thing that changes when your phase of fat loss ends is the fact you're on less calories. You want to actually bring them up. But see the fact you're doing more steps, you're being more active, you're working out, you're getting more protein in, you're getting more fruit and veg in. That is always the same, because you need to change your lifestyle. You don't need, it's not about losing weight fast. It's not about, oh, I need to lose weight before Ibiza in 8 weeks. I'm going to do a fucking shred diet or whatever. If you do it like this and change your lifestyle, you'll be in all right shape, or like way more comfortable with yourself for all your holidays forever. That's the way you want to look at it. Yeah, you can, if you want to maybe lose a wee bit of fat for like 2 to 4 weeks before you go on holiday, but you want to never really have to do any crazy diets. That's the way you want to look at it. Obviously, you will put on weight every now and then. You'll put on weight at Christmas and stuff. That's also normal. We all have fucking lives. As well, right, so the scale, I'm going to go into that a wee bit. So the scale is going to fluctuate all the time. When you're weighing yourself, you're not measuring just your bone mass and fat mass. We're made up of mostly water, and that's going to fluctuate all the time. There's loads of different reasons why it can fluctuate, right? So the main reasons are like your salt intake, and by the way, these aren't bad things. These are natural bodily functions, right? So your salt intake, your carb intake, like these are two things that can make you retain water. So I think it's for, and by the way, see when I quote random things or like I'll think I'll study, I might be a tiny bit off because I'm a bit fucking rusty going over all this. Right now, my content is mostly geared towards training. I used to absolutely hammer the life out of like fat loss stuff. So some of my maybe like statistics or like references might be a wee bit off. But anyway, for every gram of carb you intake, you retain 3 to 4 grams of water. So imagine you were eating 100 grams versus 100 grams of carbs versus 200 grams of carbs. There's a shit ton, I'm not doing the math there, there's a shit ton of water retained with that. And it even, so if you had the same amount of calories, you would weigh the same amount of calories with 100 grams of carbs versus the same amount of calories with 200 grams of carbs, just your protein and fat was distributed differently. You would weigh more on the day that you eat the 200 grams of carbs, but you wouldn't have gained any more fat. So that's the simplest way I can explain how salt and carbs can make you weigh more. If you imagined, or you've probably noticed this when you've went out for a meal, even if you've been on point most of the day, when you weigh yourself the next day, you might be a pound or two heavier, but that's not a pound or two of fat. There's 3,500 calories, roughly give or take, in a pound of body fat. There's all sorts of other things going on as well, but that's the rough sort of estimate. So unless you're sort of going over your calories that amount, you've not gained a pound of fat, right? Other sort of things to pay attention to with the scale fluctuating is your meal timing. So if you have a meal later in the night, you'll probably weigh more in the morning. if you don't go to the toilet before you weigh yourself. Stress, another one. So you've got a hormone called cortisol. If you're really, really stressed, you can hold on to more water. Again, we're not trying to prevent water retention. We're trying to be aware of it. It's a natural bodily function. And unless you're aware of it, you're going to look into the scale weight numbers too much. You want to look at scale weight numbers as data, not like putting being emotionally attached to it. Easier said than done. But I'm actually of the opinion that the more you understand, like most people's problem with the scale is they don't understand it and they don't understand the fluctuations, not the fact that they need to avoid it. They actually need to weigh more, understand it more. Some people obviously with serious obsessions would be better off avoiding the scale, but we have a culture now that's like avoiding doing anything difficult. And the difficult things is where you're actually going to learn and where you're actually going to put yourself out your comfort zone. And with weight loss and lifting weights and changing yourself in general, you're going to have to put yourself out your comfort zone and do stuff that isn't comfortable. And weighing yourself more might feel uncomfortable at the start, but it's going to help you loads. So what you want to do is look for downward trends. So the fucking worst thing you can do is weigh yourself once a week, right? And get really emotionally attached to what number is going to come up on the scale, especially as a woman. Because I'll touch on the menstrual cycle a little bit as well, but say you weigh yourself once a week, you don't pay attention to your menstrual cycle. You weigh yourself the week before your cycle, and then you weigh yourself just as you've came on your cycle. You're absolutely bang on with calories, your protein, nutrition. You've done everything to a fucking T. And then when you weigh yourself, you weigh more because you're on your cycle. Because you're going to get attached to that, and then you're going to think you've done something wrong when you haven't. A lot of the time, people have done everything to a T correct. Their only problem is their understanding of their scale and their emotional attachment to it, dictating their happiness over what number comes up on that Monday morning. That's the worst way you can go about it. Right, as well for like with your calories as well, if your weight stalls for 2 or 3 weeks, so your weight's going to stall loads. So a lot of people will think when they weigh themselves, it's going to come down in a linear fashion. So like say they've got 6 weeks, they're like, it's just going to go down like this. But if you're listening to it, it's a straight line on a graph is what people are expecting. It's actually going to be bumpy as fuck. And the fluctuations I'm talking about when you maybe go out for dinner on a Saturday, have a salt and a carb heavy meal, your weight will spike up. You'll see this if you weigh yourself often enough, and then it'll come straight back down. So when your scale weight does go up, you want to keep your calories exactly the same. It will come back down. Sometimes it's just a natural function. Sometimes you've maybe went a few hundred calories over, but again, it's not a big deal. Like people look into things way too much about like maybe they've went 200 over and they freak out and stuff. That's also what I'm going to go into. So say your weight doesn't go down for 2 or 3 weeks, only then would I bring your calories down by like 100 or 200, or 100 or 150. 200 is maybe a bit steep. But apart from that, your weight loss on the scale will maybe stall for a bit. There's loads of different things happening. Like as you diet more and more, your body's in a bit more of a stress state. You can hold on to a bit more water. This is where you can see like sometimes you might hold the same weight for like 3 weeks, and then you've not changed a single thing, but then it dips down by like 2 or 3 pounds. It's just like delayed weight loss because your body's doing different things and you're holding water and stuff. You see it all the time. Not going to get too scientific about that. Right, going to quickly touch on the menstrual cycle. I'm not going to go into this too much. Deserves a podcast in itself. I don't know if I'll go into that too much because I probably need to do a load of research on the menstrual cycle, and because I don't have one, it's very hard to sit and read about something you don't have. So also bear in mind, I don't have one, so take it with a pinch of salt. Although ex-girlfriends have said I've period-like symptoms sometimes. If you're a guy, skip this bit. If you're a guy with a girlfriend that is trying to lose weight, be a good boyfriend and listen to it. You'll be able to help her out a lot because a lot of fucking girls do this the wrong way. Right. On the lead up to your period, you will have more cravings. You actually burn a little bit more calories, and you've actually got 2 hormones called progesterone and estrogen. I know nothing more attractive than a guy that knows his women hormones, But anyway, those two hormones decline on the lead up to your period, and that's what's causing you to be more hungry and more emotional. And don't you fucking say you're not more emotional, because you are. Anyway, so all of these things play into each other. The fact your hormones are depleting and the fact you're more emotional. These are going to make you want to consume more calories and sort of have to consume more calories because you're burning more calories. So a lot of people think this is the best time to lose weight. So they'll be like, right, we need to go lower in calories, or like, because I'm burning more, take advantage of it. What you actually want to do is like ride the wave, not crash into it. So I would actually up your calories, be kind to yourself over these periods. It's all about being consistent, not trying to run yourself into the ground and not trying to do anything fast. You see the theme coming as well. It's all about consistency and like being kind to yourself, coming back if you fuck up, and not being too harsh on yourself, because that's where people fail, is they chuck the towel in over nothing. So they chuck the towel in over the scale, they chuck the towel in because they banned themselves for food and they can't like avoid food, so they'll have chocolate. They'll quit over nothing. The problem is quitting, not all the problems. Do you get what I mean? So is there anything else to touch on the menstrual cycle? Yeah, so just be aware of it as well when you're weighing yourself. So as a girl, I would really not look into your weigh-ins week to week. Even if you're weighing yourself like every single day, try not look at it, right, last week I was this weight, this week I'm this weight, even if you're taking averages. I would look at it more of like a monthly downward trend, because you've got so much going on, and you've got different phases of the menstrual cycle. You're going to have all sorts of different weigh-ins as well, and just a little bit more. So the start of the menstrual cycle is the follicular. I can never say that word. I can't say any. Are you the same, Paul? I can't say any words that end in "arly," like particularly. Yeah, you smashed it, mate. I can't. So it's not a Glaswegian thing. It's just a me thing. So specificity. You sounded so dodgy when you done it. Don't do that. I'm going to say something dodgy. Thank God, that was a good break from fucking chatting shite by myself for like half an hour. Anyway, right. So where was I going? Yeah, so you've got the follicular phase. Jesus, that's the best I've ever said that word, which is like the first half of your cycle. Then you've got the luteal phase. So as well, the luteal phase is on the lead up to your cycle. So it's the last 14 days. And as well as that, you might find that you're weaker if you go to the gym, which I'm going to try to get you to do anyway. You might find that your lifts and stuff go down over that period. And that's when your hormones and stuff are depleting. And then follicular phase, it'll get a bit better. Your training will probably be best around about the middle of your cycle. But anyway, that's enough about the menstrual cycle. Not going into that too much. If I ever experience one myself, maybe I'll do a full podcast on it. Right. Exercise, again, other than the sort of how many calories should it be on, the second question I get asked the most is, Gavin, what's the best exercise for fat loss? Gavin, I need to know what is going to burn the most calories. I need to know what is going to make me a sexy wee minx before I go Ibiza, Gavin. Right? So the thing is, there isn't one. Like, there just isn't a best exercise for fat loss. It's such a like vague question that doesn't even mean anything. And what you want to realize is exercise is just going to supplement fat loss like a tiny, tiny bit. You want to do it 100%, but you want to look at it differently. So even though a lot of this podcast is about how to frame things, because I know how people that are overweight think, because I was there myself, and there's things you need to change in the way you think and rewire your brain. I used to call it my overweight brain. That would be like the one that would be, if I had something wrong, I would inhale my cupboards. Or the one that would be like Monday to Wednesday, I would diet. Then I'd go, fuck this, I've fucked it. I'll start again on Monday. We're always trying to change the way we think. What I'm always trying to change the way people think about exercise and fat loss. So to get scientific about things, right? And I'm not going to be too scientific about things. The TDEE is your total daily energy expenditure, which I've went over. So that's made up of your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, which is the calories you need to stay alive. If you stayed in your bed all day and done absolutely fuck all, that is the calories you would burn. That makes up 70% of the calories you burn in a day, right? So after that, you get 15% as the thermic effect of food. That's 15%. So without getting too scientific about that, that's the calories you burn from breaking down food. I didn't mention as well, you break down more from protein than carbs and fats. Another reason why I'm so big on protein for fat loss. It's not just a fucking thing that bodybuilders sniff to get bigger. Then after that, you've got 10% on, 15% is actually, sorry, that's what I mean about not being scientific. Not that it really fucking matters. 15% is on like your non-exercise thermogenesis, your NEAT it's called. And I think I might be getting these the other way around. One's 10% and one's 15% anyway. So you go BMR, thermic effect of food, NEAT, non-exercise thermogenesis. So this is everything you're doing in a day that you don't consider a workout. So it's things like, if you done the hoovering, if you were dusting, do people dust? And then, I don't know, shagging, wanking is probably considered NEAT as well. And then only is the last 5%, so that's 95%, only is the last 5% coming from your workout. So see these people that are going to the gym, they're doing two spin classes in a row, coming back, they've got a treadmill in their back garden and they're running 10 miles and they've got their Apple Watch on the full time and they're like, I burned 1,200 calories. This is what I'm trying to get you away from, because these calorie calculators are massively overestimating what you're doing, and it's only going to come to like 5% and maybe 10% max of the calories you burn, and you're just going to run yourself into the ground. Again, that's a difficult day doing that. That's horrendous. You're torturing yourself doing that, and we are trying to make this as easy as possible so you stick to it. Are you going to stick to 2 spin classes and coming back, pretend you're Mo Farah when actually you want to sit on the couch and watch EastEnders? Are you fuck, mate? So we want to make sure that when we're exercising, we do it for a different reason other than burning calories. Otherwise, you're going to lose your mind. Also, it's going to be inaccurate. So you're just going to do stuff that's not actually helping you. So you want to look at exercises like, I would always go for lifting weights. I'll go through the reasoning for that in a second. But if you're doing cardio, you want to look at that as building your fitness, which is going to make you feel better. And if you're lifting weights, you want to look at that as building muscle, building strength, preventing injury. And if your goal is just to look and feel better, you want to lift weights as well, because that's what a lot of people's problem with how they look. They think it will be fixed from fat loss. Maybe it will be fixed a little bit, but it'll help them a hell of a lot more if they lifted weights and got stronger and focused on that. You can do both at the same time as well. So another common question I get is, should I wait to lift weights until I've lost weight? No, because you can build muscle whilst you're in a deficit. And if you're a beginner, you'll be able to do this. So lift weights and start now. Right, so what I would actually do if I was you, so I would, and I'm going to go through if people don't want to lift weights or if people that are really overweight aren't ready to lift weights. Don't worry, I've got you sorted that way as well. So for you, I would weight train 3 times a week. I have 2 free programs. I'm updating them all the time. They're not my best work because I've done them a while ago and I don't have time to update them that much, but I've updated them twice. So every few months, you might be watching this 3-4 years since I've done this, I'll always have a link in my bios that's got free plans. It's just one of my things that I do. So just go in there. I'll have one from home. It's usually an adjustable dumbbell program, and adjustable dumbbells are 30-40 quid. And I'll have a gym one that's accessible that everyone can do. I'll eventually have a really cheap sort of one that's maybe 20 quid that's way more in depth that can help beginners. I'm going to call it, I can't afford a PT program or something. But I'll do that in the future. I'm not ready to do that. So what you should do is lift weights, full body, 3 times a week. That's what those programs are, and you should aim to get stronger. So build strength whilst you're losing fat at the same time. And if you do that, bear in mind that you need to look at measurements and pictures way more than the scale. So just like we went over the scale fluctuating, if you build muscle well in a deficit. Now, if you do 12 weeks and you don't lose any weight and you think you're in the deficit, but you're like, I've built 12 pounds of muscle, you probably haven't. So the scale will come down a bit, just not maybe as fast a rate as if you weren't lifting weights. But again, don't look at it as like, I want to lose a stone. These sort of goals where I'm like, I want to lose a stone by a certain amount of time are really, really meaningless. I try to get people away from thinking like that. Also, with exercise, and I would supplement that with steps, which is what's going to put me on to my next point. And you don't have to look at this as like, I need to do 10,000 steps. It's not a magical number. See if you're currently doing a sedentary job. Can't say sedentary really either. If you're currently doing a job where you're sitting on your arse all day, you want, even if you go from 2,000 steps to 6,000, that's a massive improvement. So I would even, like, I start most of my clients at 6,000 to 7,000 steps. If weight loss sort of stalls, we might maybe up their steps a little bit, but you don't need to be doing like 20,000 steps a day. If you currently do 12,000, great, but like, you can just look at it like that. 7,000, I would say, would be a good start. Anyone that's got a lot of weight to lose, even just if you started at 1,000 steps, right? And then the first week, all you done was 1,000 steps and you usually do like 100, then build on that. Like by week 3, maybe be doing 2,000. And I've had clients come on. I don't really take clients on that just want to walk and do nutrition anymore, because most of my service is now based around teaching people how to lift weights, because it's a skill that will build your confidence. And I feel like I'm ripping people off if I charge someone the same price just to be accountable to food and steps. But you can just do food and steps. My dad lost 5 stone last year just doing food and steps through lockdown. His main thing was he had about 3 or 4 cans of Stella about 5 times a week. And then we cut that down to maybe just on a Saturday. And he applied all of this. My dad was probably one of the people that taught me the worst stuff about all of this as well. So it was kind of funny to go back 20 years later, or not 20 years, I wasn't that fat when I was like 5 years old. But it's good to go back and unteach all the stuff that he taught me. That was probably the reasoning for how my mindset was towards all of these things. Right, now that's sort of exercise done. I really do think you should lift weights. I think it would, like, it builds a lot of people's confidence. There's a lot in lifting weights that's all about getting out your comfort zone as well, which is what I'm talking about. We want to push your current comfort zone. We want to put you out of that, and then we also want to rewire the way you think about things. So this next subject that I'm going on to is mindset. This is the thing that I think most people need to go over. So this is where I'm talking about rewiring the way you think. And this is probably like, so I gained quite a lot of like TikTok. I hate even saying I gained followers, but I gained quite a lot of following on TikTok. And I would say it's mostly for the stuff I said about the way to frame things about food and exercise. So I mostly got following from the way I talked about mindset, because the reasoning why was because I knew how people thought, and I knew the toxic way that people thought, and I knew how to reframe it because it was what I had to do. So this is the part I think you should re-listen to. You will not be perfect on this ever, and that's probably your problem in the past, is that every time you've started something, you've wanted to do it and be like, you're so desperate to lose weight, or you feel unhappy in yourself, or you're unconfident, and you're so desperate to change that, you beat yourself up over every single like minor detail that doesn't matter a fuck in the long-term scheme of things. Like, so people will go like 100 calories over, freak the fuck out, when really it doesn't make a difference. Jesus, I just stared at that light, man. That nearly knocked me out. 100 calories over, they'll freak the fuck out, or they'll miss their step goal by 1,000. They'll think game over, starting again on Monday. 100 calories over doesn't matter. 1,000 steps under doesn't matter. 500 calories over doesn't matter. 1,000 calories over doesn't matter. 2,000 calories over doesn't matter. I'm not going to bore you to tears, but 5,000 calories over one day Doesn't matter in the scheme of things. You know how we said that there's 3,500 calories and a pound of fat. If your maintenance was 2,000 and yet 5,000 one day, over the next week, your weight would jump up quite a lot and weight, because like we went over, you would eat more carbs, so your weight would go up quite a lot if you ate 5,000 calories. Over the next few days, if you just went down to your maintenance calories, your scale weight would drop. So I always say this to people: if you have a weekend out one Saturday, or you go out on a Saturday, you overconsume, and that's the reason that you quit, because on the Monday you weigh more. Weigh yourself Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Don't try undo what you've done at the weekend, and just go down to what your regular calories was. Regular, can't say that either. And you'll see your weight come down. And see, once you do that 2 or 3 times, you'll already rewire your brain and go, right, fucking hell. I like to explain it that the scale will always over exaggerate what's happened, the same way I over dramatize my stories and half of it never happened to sound funnier than I actually am. That's what the scale weight's doing. With your fat, you've not gained that much of fat. A lot of it will be water retention. You might gain a little bit of fat, but then over the next few days, like, that'll even out anyway. So what you want to do is just not throw in the towel over absolutely nothing, right? It's maybe well before I do another one of these solo podcasts. I feel like my voice has went the same way as I did after the Celtic game, mate. The caffeine shite for vocal cords. Learn something new every day. That's more scientific than I've said anyway. Right. What are we going on to next? Yeah, so all these little details make fuck all difference. Every single PT and their granny has pretty much quoted the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. I read it like a year ago. I can't remember all the specific sort of quotes, so I'm going to butcher it to fuck. But he basically went through, like, every time you sort of fail something. So say you miss a workout, you're creating a new habit of missing workouts. So the important thing isn't the workout you've missed. It's just don't miss the next one. That's pretty much it. So don't overreact that you've missed a workout. Just don't miss the next one. That's it. With the steps and like your calories going a little bit, like, I would even give yourself a range of like 200, so you don't like overreact over these sort of things. But with workouts, just make sure that you try not miss the next one, but don't beat yourself up about missing a workout. Always don't try catch up on workouts. So if you're meant to do 3 and you only manage 2, don't try do 4 the next week. If you go over your calories one day, don't try eat less the next day to undo it. And if you miss your steps, don't try do more the next day to undo it, because all you're creating there is like a mindset of like punishing yourself and feeling guilty for something that's going to make fuck all difference in the long run. The main thing really is don't try undo things, especially with calories, because if you go over in calories one day, then try restrict yourself the next day, what's going to happen is you're likely to want to go over calories again. And it creates a sort of unhealthy relationship with food. Again, with rewiring our brain, we are trying to have a healthy relationship with exercise where we don't view it as burning calories and burning ourselves out. And we're trying to have a healthy relationship with food where we don't look at it as good or bad, or this is helping me lose weight, or this is helping me, or this is making me fat. We're just viewing it as food, and it's hitting our calorie goal, our protein goal, and our fruit and veg goal. And some of it is keeping our fucking sanity, like a tub of ice cream at the end of the day. Again, with mindset, one of the things I hammered home on one of the videos, and it was like my mantra for fucking 2020, especially during lockdown, was, and this might flick a wee switch, some of the scale weight stuff might flick a wee switch as well, is be consistently decent over inconsistently perfect. So if you're perfect from Monday to Wednesday and then you don't do anything for 3 weeks, that's way worse than you just like, oh, I went over calories by 200 on Saturday, or I missed my steps. I was like, I'd done 10,000 less steps this week than last week, but you were semi on track most of the month. That's way better than you being perfect for 3 days. Another important thing that isn't really talked about that much. So fat loss is a phase. See, if you were to stay in a deficit all the time, like if you were to stay in a calorie deficit, you would fucking die. Like you're literally on less calories than your body needs to maintain its current weight. So if you think about it, you would literally just eventually starve to death. So you need to think of it as a phase. It's a lifestyle change. The calories is a phase. So everything else is permanent, but the calories is a phase. So what you need to do, so say you're someone that's got loads of weight to lose, or you've got 15 kilos to lose. I wouldn't do this in one go, which is what people struggle with because they're so desperate, like I said, to lose weight. So they'll try to do it as fast as they can. They'll do these 8-week or 6-week shreds. They'll even go with PTs that are like, oh, let's get shreddy and let's lose weight as fast as you can. Fuck all of that shit, mate. It doesn't work and it screws your relationship with food. I don't think I've ever heard the Glaswegian say screw, man. That was so gimpy. Anyway, so yeah, with diet breaks, and you can use them as like whenever you want. I would never diet a client for more than 12 weeks. Sometimes I get the odd one. It's like, I feel fine. I want to keep going. Or sometimes I get ones after 9 weeks are like, here, I'm starving, and we just up their calories. So you want to listen to yourself. A lot of people will get mixed up and they'll think, I've got no willpower. I can't stick to this anymore. I haven't lost weight for like 2 weeks. When actually it's because they've been, and then I'll ask them, how long have you been dieting for? And they're like 6 months. And I'm like, no fucking wonder, mate. You've been on less calories for 6 months. It's not your willpower. Your body literally is depleting all your hormones, trying to get you to wise the fuck up and eat more and stop depleting yourself. So you want to use diet breaks, and without going into too much detail about them, you can use them for anywhere up to like 2 to 8 weeks. I would do 2 weeks as a minimum. So say you diet for 12 weeks, you're starting to get really, really hungry. As soon as, like, if you're starting to struggle to sleep and stuff, you're starting to really obsess over food, then definitely up your calories. You can do it for like 2 to 8 weeks. I'll do a podcast on reverse dieting. You can also do this for a while. And reverse dieting, there's loads of different like ways that people put it. So it can get mixed up a little bit, and like some people can think it's a way of losing weight, or some people can think it's a way, like there's some magical fucking system that gets you to eat more calories and lose weight. Reverse dieting is just a way to push up your calories. So say as you diet, as you weigh less, you're going to require less calories to maintain your current weight. Just the same way, if you think about, if you were a car driving from Glasgow to London, you had 5 people in it versus you had 1, so the car weighs less, you would need less fuel. You'll now require less fuel if you're like 20 kilos heavier. Also, your metabolism will adapt. So a lot of people will talk about starvation mode and stuff. These things, again, starvation mode, when a lot of people are saying it, they don't really get what they're talking about. So your metabolism will adapt to the calories you're on over time, but it won't adapt so much that if you're eating less calories, you'll now gain weight. It'll just be like, say your maintenance was 2,000, you spend a lot of time on 1,400, your maintenance might come down to like 1,700. But as you reverse diet and slowly push your calories back up, say you put them back to 2,000, and then over the next 8 weeks, every like 2 weeks, you put it up like 100, you end up in like 2,400, your maintenance will start coming back up. So your metabolism will adapt on the way down and on the way up. As you're dieting, that your things like your NEAT and stuff will go down. So that was non-exercise activity thermogenesis. I'm so fucking dumb with going through the scientific terms. But as you diet, this might be a little bit interesting. You'll do things like fidget less and stuff the longer you get in, stuff you won't even notice. And it's things your body is doing to down-regulate your metabolism. None of it's bad. Like, it's not bad. And all these things that are talking about kickstarting your metabolism, it's not really a fucking thing. Your metabolism adapts. It'll adapt on the way down. It'll adapt on the way up. So if you gradually, slowly push your calories up, your metabolism will come up with it as well. So don't ever be scared that you've broken your metabolism or anything like that. If you were someone that had dieted for 3 months before you came on with me and you said you can't lose weight anymore, I would reverse diet with you and focus on lifting weights over that period and try build your calories back up and try build your metabolism back up as well. Not kickstarting it, just adding calories over time. And you want to look at diet breaks and like reverse dieting as like 12 steps forward and then you need, if you take 12 steps forward, you lose a little bit of weight. Say you say it was just 12 kilos, just for math's sake. You'll have to take 1 to 2 steps back before you can go again. And I'm not really an analogy guy, but imagine you were a Formula One car, right? And you tried to go round the track, whatever, how many times it is, whatever. Lewis Hamilton's needs to do 48 laps, but he needs to refuel. If he tried to do that all without refueling, he would just fucking end up in the middle of the track, lose the Formula One, lose all his money. This is the exact same that would happen to you if you had like 30 kilos to lose. You tried to lose it all in one go, you would end up being like Lewis Hamilton. You'd lose the plot on the middle of the F1 track, right? That's probably the best analogy I've ever came up with. I'm usually fucking horrendous at them. Right, and then also, so with reverse dieting as well, another thing that hammered home on TikTok is, even through that 12 weeks, you do not need to be in a deficit every single day. So say we all have lives, right? You're never going to have a perfect time to diet. You're going to have a wedding coming up. You're going to have a fucking trip with the birds to to where do people go these days? Butlins. It was Butlins back in my day. But you're going to have things coming up. You're going to have trips. So you're going to have times where you're not going to be able to stick to the calorie amount that you're on. And you can always just have a maintenance day. So maintenance, again, is the calories should stay the current weight you are. You can even go slightly above this. But these are just things to keep you on track rather than having binges. Do you know what I mean? So even if you wanted to do this for 2 or 3 days, just have a mental break from dieting. Diet breaks are the same. It doesn't just give you a physical break, build your metabolism back up. It's a mental break from dieting, because dieting is stressful. You're constantly monitoring what you're eating and you're constantly thinking about stuff. It's stressful on the mind as much as your body as well. So these are mental breaks as well as physical. So maintenance days, you obviously, if you have maintenance days every single day, you won't lose weight. But when you've got things coming up, just push your calories up and control them a lot more. If you've got a wedding, I'm not going to tell a client to go to a wedding and eat 1,600 calories. It's just not going to harm. If they've been really consistent for 6 weeks, I'll just be like, just be mindful when you're out. See if there's a buffet, have a few things that you want on it. Don't demolish the full buffet. Do you know what I mean? And they'll come back, they'll put a wee bit of weight on the scale, and then over the next few days that'll come down, and then they're bang on track again. So the more consistent you are with your calories, the more you can not worry about if you have an event coming up or something. And the more you do this, the more you learn. Think about all of this as like you're educating yourself and learning yourself, because this is important fucking information that everybody should know, or everyone that struggled with their weight at one point should know. And even if you get someone to coach you how to do this, if you're going to live your life in a way where you've got a good relationship with food and exercise, you need to educate yourself on how to do that. So these are all things that you'll learn the more you do it. And again, with the mindset sort of aspect of it is just don't give up. That's it. Everyone throws the towel in over nothing. All I ever say to them is the only way you fuck it is if you give up, not the reason that you're giving up isn't the, I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, right. So another thing that we're moving on to is when to stop dying, because people don't know the answer to this, right? And it's another thing that I see people struggling with at all. There will generally be people that, because I've SEO'd the fuck out of this video, there will be people that will have searched fat loss, come into this video, they've got however long we're in, that shouldn't be trying to lose fat. Like, they literally should be like, there's other stuff I've went through. If your goal is aesthetic and you've been struggling to lose like that last 5 to 10 pounds, that bit where I went through lifting and how a lot of people should be lifting, and that's actually the thing that's going to get them the result they want. This is what you need to hear. So if you're someone that's like, I've just got that little bit of fat to lose, I've got a little bit of fat in my stomach I want to get rid of, you're listening to the wrong podcast. I don't think you should be losing fat. So like, I always explain it like this, and I got stuck in this trap even when I lost weight. I never ever I never tried to like up my calories and get stronger. I would just constantly be dieting and losing and gaining the same 5 pounds and always be restricting myself. This is also quite dangerous. It's how you can lead to eating disorders and stuff as well. So you actually need to be pretty careful, because people who get obsessed with fat loss, it's like trying to, oh, here we go, another analogy. Like trying to look at the moon and say, I'm going to walk to that moon. Like you're never going to get there. It's like a never ending circle, because it's too, you're always going to have fat. We have body fat. And like currently I have a wee bit more of a pouch than I usually do, but it's fine. And I'm in a healthy point, and I know all of this now, that if I wanted to lose maybe £10 and £10, I'd be in pretty decent nick again. I know how to do it, and I've got the confidence now, and I've got the relationship with food that I can do that pretty easily. But I would have really struggled with that thought process before. So if you think you've got that last £5 to £10 to lose, and it's not coming off, you've done everything, that's where you need to stop and do what we just said. We're bringing your calories back up, having a new goal. And I always say to people, this is why we lift weights, because if you stop dieting and you only focus on food, then you're going to get obsessed. But every time your scale goes up a wee bit, every time you feel like you've got a wee bit of fat going on. Whereas if you now focus, right, I'm going to use these extra calories and get stronger in the gym, because your gym sessions will go way better if you've been in a deficit to now being on more calories. You'll have you'll have the energy to now perform better in the gym. So do that. Try get stronger. Don't focus so much on the scaling stuff anymore. But yeah, there's a lot of people that just get stuck in this mindset of like, I have to lose fat, I have to lose fat, I have to lose fat. You probably don't, especially if there's a sign. If you're hungry as fuck, you can't stick to the calories anymore, and nothing's coming off. Your body's telling you to get your calories up to fuck. The last thing I'm going to go through is sleep and positive self-talk, right? So first of all, with sleep, again, I'm not really a studies guy. I've read plenty of studies, but I'm not one of these people that can just quote off random fucking studies and tell you, oh, we had 19 participants in this study and half of them this happened. I'm just not really like that. But there has been studies, and I'm not going to quote directly from them, but there's studies of people that get, say, -6 hours sleep to people who get above 6 hours, maybe like 6 to 9 hours. And the ones who get less, I think they can burn anywhere between 100 to 200 calories less than the people who sleep more. And they've done quite a lot of studies, especially recently, on this. So as well as that, so sleep is huge. It's like, if anything, I should have done a bit more. So like, I've got the notes here. I've not got that many notes on sleep. I should do a full podcast on sleep. If you ever want to learn more about it, there's a guy called Matthew Walker. He has a full book on it. I tried to listen to the audiobook, and ironically, it put me fucking sleep. So I would actually, like, he's been on Joe Rogan and stuff. I would maybe listen to that, and he goes through absolutely everything, rather than just listening to me trying to go off my notes app. But as well as that, your hormones down-regulate when you don't sleep as well, or they up-regulate. Sometimes it gets confusing trying to think about it. But anyway, you've got ghrelin and leptin. Your ghrelin is your hunger hormone, so that signals when you're hungry, and this up-regulates when you're sleep deprived. So you'll notice, and people sleep less when they're drinking, so you'll really notice this when you're hungover. But anytime you've not had good sleep, once you know this and once you've listened to it, pay attention to it, I bet you the next time you'll feel that you've got more cravings, you'll feel hungrier throughout the day, and you'll be thinking about food more when you're sleep deprived. Also, as well as that, you've got leptin, which is the hormone that signals when you're full, and that down regulates when you're sleep deprived. So you'll actually be hungrier and food will satisfy you less, which I don't know if you've gathered, that's not really a good combination, is it? So make sure you definitely try your best to get 79 hours sleep. When I say stuff like this, I'm like, Gavin, I've got 2 toddlers. I can't get sleep. Listen, Sharon, fuck it, I've no solution for you. I don't know. I've never had to deal with toddlers. I'm just doing my fucking best. So even if you get an extra half an hour's kip, or after they've grown up a wee bit and shut the fuck up at night and you get a wee bit more sleep, you know what I mean? I can't fucking sort everything in your life out. As well as that, yeah. So just don't need tips for going to sleep. Just go to bed earlier. Instead of texting that boy that's a fucking drug dealer that lives in your estate, just block him to fuck. If he's got Snapchat, it's a red flag anyway. Get him to fuck, put your phone away, and go to bed a wee bit earlier. Everything will be 10 times easier. Your training will be easier as well, right? Caffeine as well. I had a coffee before this podcast at 4 p.m. Shouldn't be doing that. Don't say do as I say, not as I do, whatever that saying is. Because caffeine has a half-life of up to 8 hours, right? Then just with the positive self-talk that I said as well, I'm not Gandhi, right? I'm not into this hippie shit. Like I'm not like that. I'm not like all of this like extreme positivity. And as a Scottish person, especially a Glaswegian, all of that makes me cringe like fuck. So I'm definitely not saying it in that sort of way, not this over the top, getting up and doing your affirmations every morning and stuff like that. I'm not talking about it to that extent, but to an extent, you do have to actually believe in yourself to some degree. You actually, like anyone that has inquired about coaching with me and they're like, listen, Gavin, I'd love to become a client, but I won't be able to do this. I literally say to them straight away, cool, I'm not taking you on as a client, because if you say you can't do it, then you can't. You're literally talking yourself out of it already. So as well as that, like I'm quite big on like if people call themselves a fat cunt, you actually start like identifying as that and believing it. Do you know what I mean? So you need to have some sort of belief in yourself. So just catch yourself on when you're talking yourself out of things, because these are the type of things that I used to do. I used to get to a Wednesday and I'd be like, I can't do this. Usually it's because what I was trying was too extreme, like running every day or being on crazy low calories. But I used to talk myself out of it, and that was the problem. I used to not believe that I could do it. And it was only when I eventually educated myself, came at it from an approach that was way easier, that I learned that I could do it. And then as the weeks progressed, as I educated myself more, and as I bet myself up less, I realized I could do it. And I started reframing my brain so that I knew that I could do it, and I believed in myself. And I used to call myself a fat cunt all the time. I used to slag myself to my mates and call myself a fat cunt, as like I don't know, a barrier, so that like they couldn't slag me. I'd already slag myself. Whereas you really start believing in that stuff. So if you've kind of gathered, the whole theme of the podcast is calorie deficit is what you lose, how to lose weight. But everything is about how you think about things, how you reframe things, not beating yourself up over shit that doesn't matter, like the steps, the calories, and just keeping going and looking at it as a lifestyle change over short fixes where you're trying to lose weight fast for an event or something. You're looking at it as a lifestyle change. So that's pretty much everything. This podcast is part of a podcast where I get guests on. I get fitness people on. It's actually in this studio. So if you want to subscribe for that, we have quite a lot of interesting conversations. Not just fitness people, we have comedians on and just whoever the fuck I feel like getting on. Maybe get like, I don't know, Nicola Sturgeon on one day and we'll ask her her thoughts. But we'll see how that goes. And if you enjoyed this, if you want more of an episode like this to go through a topic in depth, like reverse dieting, like maybe the menstrual cycle, or maybe sleep, maybe I'll try and make sleep a wee bit more interesting than Matthew Walker. Let me know about that, and I'll maybe try do that, because I need ideas for solo podcasts as well, just to keep things going. So remember everything in the podcast. I'm starting to stutter my words. I'm fucking fucked now. And I'll be having a new episode soon. Can't wait to fucking get to sleep. Stay sexy. Any questions, put them below. Hopefully I've covered them. And I'll catch you in the next one.